So get ready, because we're going to try to make you the ultimate holiday hero for your feline friend.
I think what's great about these recipes is that they're not just festive. You know, they're really all about safe ingredients for cats, which is super important at this time of year because there's just so much around that, they could get into that might not be good for them.
That's a really good point, actually. We get so caught up in the holidays that it's easy to forget that something that's totally fine for us to eat could actually be a big no-no for our furry little friends. So what kind of things should we be on the lookout for?
Well, some of those classic holiday ingredients like chocolate, you probably heard about that. But things like onions and garlic are also really bad for cats.
Right, I've definitely heard about chocolate, but onions and garlic, really, why are those so toxic?
Yeah, so they have compounds in them that can actually damage red blood cells. And that can lead to something called Heinz body anemia in cats. So even small amounts can cause problems.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. Well, it's a good thing these recipes you sent in are all about using cat-safe ingredients. And speaking of the recipes, the first one I want to talk about is called Cat-tastic Christmas Cookie Cutouts. I mean, that name alone. So creative. What makes this recipe so special?
First of all, I love the name too. So clever. But yeah, this recipe is really all about using simple and healthy ingredients, things that cats love like oats, chicken, and pumpkin. And you can use cookie cutters to make all kinds of fun festive shapes like stars and snowflakes and little Christmas trees.
Oh my gosh, tiny cat-sized cookies. That's adorable. But okay, before we get carried away with the cuteness, I have to ask, don't cats, can't they not taste sweet things? So wouldn't these cookies be kind of bland for them?
You're right. Cats' taste buds work a little differently than ours. They can really only taste bitter, sour, salty, and savory flavors. So that's why it's important to really focus on those savory ingredients like the chicken and the pumpkin. They might not be able to appreciate the sweetness, but those savory notes are definitely going to be a hit.
Okay, that makes total sense. We're really appealing to their very specific kitty palate. And speaking of specific, these recipes recommend baking the treats at a low temperature, which makes sense. You don't want to burn anything. But won't that take forever?
It can take a little longer than baking cookies for us humans, but it's really worth it. You get safer and higher quality treats that way. And the recipes also suggest air drying as an option, which can help extend their shelf life too.
That makes sense. Longer baking, longer shelf life sounds like a win-win. Okay, let's move on to the next recipe. This one is called Holiday-Inspired Tuna Treats. Ooh, this one sounds a bit more adventurous, don't you think?
Definitely. This one uses a really yummy combination of tuna, cranberries, and get this, just a touch of cinnamon.
Cinnamon? For cats, why cinnamon?
Well, aside from adding a really nice subtle warmth to the flavor, cinnamon can actually help with cats' digestion. It can help soothe upset stomachs and promote healthy gut bacteria. Of course, you don't want to overdo it. Like with anything else, moderation is key.
That's so interesting. So we've got tuna for protein, cranberries for antioxidants, and cinnamon for digestion. It's like a tiny little health bomb. And I see that this recipe also stresses proper drying, which makes sense given what we talked about earlier. Before we move on to the final recipe, did you know that cats actually have a third eyelid?
Oh yeah, the nictitating membrane.
Yes. What is that for? It seems so strange.
It's actually really cool. It helps protect their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps them nice and moist and clean. And it also kind of acts like a shield to protect against debris and injury.
That's wild. Cats are so amazing. It really makes you realize just how much we can learn from them. Okay, are you ready to hear about the final recipe? It's called DIY Catnip Delights. Now, I have a feeling these are going to be a big hit.
You're telling me. Catnip is basically pure kitty bliss. And this recipe is all about making sure your cat enjoys it in a way that's safe and natural. It uses organic catnip, which is really important because you want to avoid any pesticides or anything artificial.
That makes sense. Why are artificial flavors and sweeteners so bad for cats?
Oh, they can cause so many problems, from stomach aches to even more serious health issues. Cats just can't process those artificial compounds. So sticking to natural ingredients is always the best way to go, especially when we're talking about treats.
Right, totally agree. So what exactly goes into these catnip delights?
Well, basically you're combining dried organic catnip with yogurt and other cat-safe ingredients, and then you just roll the mixture into little balls. Super simple, but cats go crazy for them. And if you want them to last longer, you can even freeze them.
Now that we're on the topic of catnip, did you know that cats actually have 14 times more scent receptors than humans? That's why they go nuts for catnip.
Oh, good. Oh yeah, for sure. It all comes down to how they experience the world through their senses. It's a completely different olfactory landscape. And for cats, Catnip is like this massive explosion of incredible smells.
Oh my gosh, I love that. An olfactory landscape. It's so true, though. We live in the same world, but we experience it so differently.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, especially when we're talking about making treats for cats. We really have to think about things like taste and smell and how those things are different for them.
That's a great point. So we've got all these delicious homemade cat treats that are safe, healthy, and tailored to our cat's unique tastes. But what do we do with them all? Besides spoiling our own furry friends, of course.
Well, they actually make amazing gifts for any cat lovers in your life. And the recipes actually say to store the treats in airtight containers in the fridge for up to a week. So they're totally perfect for sharing. You can put them in cute little jars or something and add a personalized label.
That's such a good idea. It's so much more thoughtful than just buying something generic at the pet store. And it's such a fun way to spread some holiday cheer.
For sure. And don't forget on social media, maybe we could encourage people to share their creations with a hashtag like hashtag Festive Feline treats.
Oh, I love that. It would be so much fun to see what people come up with. Okay, well, I think we've covered just about everything on these recipes. Any final thoughts before we take a quick break?
I have to say, I'm really impressed with these recipes. They're so detailed, and you can tell that a lot of care went into them. They're not just treats, they're almost like little works of art.
You know what? I completely agree. I feel like I've become a better cat parent just from this conversation. I'm definitely inspired to get into the kitchen and try out some of these recipes myself.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much we've learned from just talking about cat treats.
I know, right? It's like these tiny little treats have opened up this whole new world of understanding and connection with our cats. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be diving into even more amazing cat facts you guys sent in. Don't go anywhere.
You know, it's interesting. These recipes aren't just about indulging our cats. You know?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was so focused on the cuteness and the deliciousness that I didn't even think about the bigger picture here.
Right. They're really a reflection of how much we want to give our cats the best possible care, even during the holidays.
Exactly. We want them to be part of the fun, but in a way that's actually good for them, not just giving them scraps from the table or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really beautiful example of that human-animal bond.
It really is. And you know, all those cat facts you sent in, they really make you appreciate cats even more. Like, did you know that cats have scent glands on their cheeks?
That's right. And they use those glands to mark their territory. They rub their faces on things to leave their scent.
It's like they're decorating for the holidays in their own special way. But seriously, all those facts you shared, like the 32 teeth and the sharp canines and the third eyelid, it's a good reminder that even though we love to cuddle them, they're still natural predators.
Yeah, they're incredibly skilled predators, and yet they purr. And we think that that purring, which can be anywhere from 25 to 150 hertz, has actual healing properties for both cats and humans.
Wow, that's incredible. What else is on that amazing list of facts you sent?
Well, their pupils can expand to let in more light, which is why they're such good night hunters.
That makes sense. It's like they have a superpower. Okay, I have to ask one more question about the Cat-tastic Christmas cookie cutouts recipe. It mentions that the dough can be a little crumbly. Any tips for working with it?
Oh yeah, for sure. You just want to make sure the dough is really cold before you start rolling it out. That'll make it a lot easier to handle. And if it's still giving you trouble, you can always add a tiny bit of water, just a teaspoon at a time until it comes together nicely.
Awesome. Those are great tips. I'm already feeling more confident about making these. Okay, are you ready to move on to the holiday-inspired tuna treats?
Let's do it. I think these are going to be a real winner, especially with that little hint of cinnamon for digestion.
Wait a minute, you mentioned that earlier, and I'm still kind of curious about how cinnamon actually helps with digestion, especially for cats. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Sure. So cinnamon is known for being anti-inflammatory, which can help soothe the digestive tract. It can also help regulate blood sugar levels, which is important for cats that are maybe prone to weight gain or diabetes. And some studies have shown that cinnamon might even help to stimulate the production of digestive enzymes, which can further aid in digestion.
That's so cool. I never knew cinnamon could do all that. So it's not just about flavor, it's actually doing something good for them too.
Yep, it's a really good example of how even a tiny amount of some spices can actually have a positive impact on our cat's health.
Wow. Okay, I'm officially a cinnamon believer now. What else do we need to know about these tuna treats?
Well, the recipe says to make sure you use tuna that's packed in water and not oil. That helps keep the fat content down and make sure the treats are healthy and easy to digest.
Good point. And just to double check, these treats are all safe for cats with allergies, right?
Yes, That's actually one of the best things about these recipes. They're all free of the most common allergens like dairy and grains, so they're great for even the most sensitive cats.
Perfect. I'm already thinking about all the furry friends I can spoil with these. All right, last but not least, we have the DIY catnip delights.
Oh yeah, these are going to be a huge hit. And remember, we're using organic catnip to avoid all those pesticides and nasty artificial ingredients.
Speaking of catnip, you were talking earlier about how cats have a super-powered sense of smell. How does that actually work?
So cats have this special thing called a vomeronasal organ. Sometimes it's called Jacobson's organ. It's in the roof of their mouth, and it helps them to detect pheromones and other scents that we humans can't even smell.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. So they really are experiencing a totally different world of smells than we are.
Exactly. And catnip has a chemical in it called nepilactone. And when that binds to the receptors in their vomeronasal organ, it triggers a euphoric response. That's what causes that classic catnip craziness we all love.
That makes so much more sense now. It's not just the smell, it's how their brains are actually wired to respond to it.
Exactly. It reminds us that we might live in the same world, but our sensory experiences can be so different.
That's a great point. And it kind of brings us full circle back to these recipes. It's not just about making something that tastes good. It's about really understanding our cats and what they like.
Right. It's about making them happy.
I love that. Okay, before we get to the topic of gifting these treats, did you know that a group of cats is called a clouder?
A clouder. Oh, I love that. It's so perfect.
I know, it's almost as cute and quirky as they are. Okay, let's talk about gifting these treats. I think they'd make an awesome gift for anyone who loves cats.
Oh, absolutely. And they can be kept in the fridge for up to a week. So they're perfect for sharing. You can even put them in cute little jars and make personalized labels.
Oh, that's such a good idea. It's way more thoughtful than just buying some random cat toy at the store.
Totally. And it's a great way to spread some holiday cheer.
And don't forget about our social media hashtag Festive Feline treats.
Yes! I can't wait to see what everyone comes up with.
Me too. Okay, well, I think we've pretty much covered everything on these recipes. What are your final thoughts?
You know, I'm so impressed with how much thought went into these recipes. It shows how much we care about our furry friends.
I completely agree. This has been such a fun and informative deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much. I'm definitely going to try making some of these for my own cat.
Me too! It's amazing how much we can learn just from a cat treat recipe.
Right. It's like a tiny little treat can open up this whole world of connection and understanding. All right, before we wrap up, I have to share one more cat fact. Did you know that cats can actually jump up to 6 times their height?
Yeah, that's true. They have incredibly powerful legs and flexible spines. They're amazing jumpers. That's probably how they always manage to get into trouble.
Speaking of getting into trouble, have you ever noticed how cats always seem to find the most inconvenient spots to take a nap?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like they know exactly where to lay down so you'll trip over them.
But we love them anyway. They're so mischievous.
I know. It's part of their charm.
All right, well, I think it's about time to wrap up this part of our deep dive. But don't worry, we'll be back to explore even more fascinating cat facts and talk about how these festive treats can teach us some really valuable lessons about life, love, and connection. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. We've been having such a blast today talking about those awesome cat treat recipes and all those crazy cat facts you guys sent in. It really makes you realize how much we still don't know about these mysterious creatures.
It really does. And what's even cooler is that there's so much research going on right now. I mean, people are really digging deep into cat behavior and nutrition and all that stuff. Yeah, I've been reading about that it seems like we're constantly learning new things about cats, even though they've been hanging out with us for, like, centuries. What are some of the most interesting discoveries you've come across lately?
Well, scientists are really starting to understand how cats talk to us. Through meows and purrs, and even the way they move their tails.
But you're saying they're not just meowing at us randomly. There's actually, like, meaning behind it.
Exactly. I mean, each meow and purr and tail flick could be a totally different message.
Right.
Like, they might be asking for food or attention, or even just telling you they're happy.
Wow, that's so cool. It's like they have their own secret language.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
And the more we can understand what they're trying to say, the better we can connect with them.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have to start paying closer attention to what my cat's trying to tell me.
I think that's one of the best things about having a cat, They teach us to be more present and really pay attention to the little things.
Oh, totally. They're like little furry Zen masters or something.
Right. Speaking of Zen masters, cats are pretty famous for being champion nappers. Like, they can sleep up to 16 hours a day.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Sometimes I wish I could just conk out whenever I felt like it. But why do they sleep so much?
Well, a lot of it has to do with their evolution as predators. Hunting takes a ton of energy, so they need lots of rest to recharge. It's like their natural way of conserving energy.
So they're not just lazy, they're just being really efficient with their energy.
Exactly. They've got it all figured out. Okay, ready for one last cat fact before we wrap things up?
Hit me.
Did you know that cats can see really well in low light?
Oh, yeah. It's like they have night vision goggles or something.
Right. Their eyes are specially adapted to pick up even the tiniest bit of light, which is why they're such good hunters in the dark.
That's so cool. Okay, I think we officially covered all the bases here. We've talked about delicious cat treats, learned a ton of amazing cat facts, and hopefully inspired everyone listening to give their furry friends some extra love this holiday season.
I completely agree. This has been such a fun, deep dive. And you know what? I'm feeling really inspired to keep learning more about cats. It's like there's always something new to discover.
Me too. It's a good reminder that even something as simple as a cat treat can teach us so much. So as we all celebrate the holidays with our loved ones, let's not forget about those furry little companions who bring so much joy to our lives.
Absolutely. They really do make the world a better place.
Well, on that note, we want to wish you and all your feline friends a very Merry Christmas.
And a perfectly happy New Year.